Hello, welcome to another PJ and Dunkley. I'm the horse racing correspondent Anthony Dunkley, and I know I say it every week, but this weekend has some of the best racing you're going to find, well, definitely so far this year, obviously. But I would say all jump season, because Trials Day at Cheltenham, then it is the Irish Arkle and Irish Champion Hurdle meeting at Leopardstown on Sunday. It is fantastic, and who better to go through the card with than the 4x Naps champion Paul Jacobs. Paul, how are you, sir?
Yeah, and I'm tremendous weekend. I'm lucky enough to be going to Cheltenham on Saturday. Hugely looking forward to it, hugely so.
Well, I'm going to be working, and this guy is potentially going to send me some sweets, so I look forward to that. I feel like I'm going to be there already. We're going to start off with Cheltenham. We could go through the whole card, but we simply don't have time. We're going to be focusing on 3 races: the JCB Triumph Hurdle Trial, the Timeform Novices Handicap Chase, and of course the Cleve Hurdle. Let's start with the JCB Triumph Hurdle Trial, Paul. Peace & Co gets his first real test. He won his debut in the country. He was very well fancied. Won a Grade 2 at Doncaster. And is he a bit overbet at the moment?
He may be overbet, but he put up a huge time that day against horses that were above average. And here comes the real test. He's definitely a chaser in the making. Now, I think all of the races for Trials Day are on the new course, and that's very pertinent because the Triumph Hurdle is run on the new course on Friday. The new course is basically a stiffer course than the old course, a lot stiffer, to be fair. Many people say Cheltenham's a stiff track. Well, the old course makes it a sort of a kind of a sharpish track in a way. So it will be a test of stamina. It'll suit him because he'll probably gallop from the front under Barry for sure, and he sets the standard. The point is, if he basically continues on the upgrade from that run at Doncaster, let's just say he's improved £7, which is not beyond reason here, and he reproduces that form and he enhances that time figure, he'll just blatantly win. Yeah. The question is whether you believe he had it easy that day out in front, and I don't think he did really, to be honest with you. He just travelled like an absolute Rolls Royce. He is a chaser in the making for sure, and Henderson has still to make his mind up about the Triumph Hurdle itself, which is 5-2, as you know, as well.
Yeah, of course.
5-2. So this will be the first real test. I expect he'll probably go for around about 11-10. Would I be willing to bet him at 11-10? No, I'd rather sit back and watch the race.
Yeah, exactly my feeling as well, Paul. If Bivouac turns up, we're recording this on the Thursday, so the decks haven't come through yet. But if Bivouac was to turn up, I think he could run into the frame. He's narrowly won in both starts, but he's won on soft ground on both of them. He's soft ground again, and although they're on very different tracks, Sandown and Kempton, I don't think Cheltenham will be overly displeasing to him. I think his stamina actually might be a plus because he's had to work very hard in his first 2. But he always seems to get his head in front, even when it's unlikely. So I would be interested in him to make the frame. Paul, we're going to move on to the Timeform Novices Handicap Chase. And I know you really like Generous Ransom here. It was a Sandown Novice Handicap Chase winner and 3rd at Kempton last time.
And as you said, Dunkers, we don't know the decks at this stage. Carroll's Destrier pulled up last time out in a much better race than this. A lot of these are quite progressive. Ned Stark progressed on his 2 victories, went 4th last time out. Stellar Notion beat my selection, Generous Ransom, last time out at Kempton, but there's a £9 pull for a 4-length beating there. Yeah. Garrett Hallish is a nice horse. He jumps particularly well, and we know you need that at Cheltenham as well. Irish Cavalier looks patently one-paced, like he needs 3 miles rather than 2.5. So that's why I've gone for Generous Ransom here, who has that good turnaround with Stellar Notion from that Kempton run. And again, he jumps really well, and staying will be his game. There are 3 front runners in this field, 2 which are jocked up already at the moment. So you'd be pretty hopeful we're going to get a clean run race here, a thoroughly run race, and that'll suit Generous Ransom. Nick Gifford thinks the absolute world of him. If you read all his quotes, he said, "This is the horse I have my eye on for a big race this season," and I think he's undercooked off a mark of 128, and because he comes from a small yard, depending on sort of what the decks are going to be, you'd be hopeful of a double figure price here, because you've got big stables in here. Alan King's got Ned Stark here. Paul Nicholls has got Black River, who I thought was disappointing last time out. Lucinda Russell's team in really good form. Interested to see if she sends down Final Assault as well. Emma Lavelle's team are coming into form, but Moss Park had a really hard race at Warwick last time out. Very, very hard race indeed. So I think he could be a really interesting each-way price, around about 10 or 12-1 if we get that. And Daryl Jacob is a really positive booking.
Quite a trappy race.
Yeah, it is difficult. It's difficult. But you paid your money, takes your chance.
Exactly. We move on to some would say the feature race of the day, the Cleve Hurdle, which is the World Hurdle Trial as we know it, won in previous years by horses like Big Bucks on his way, and we have another Paul Nichols and Andy Stewart horse, Sapphire de Reux. He's never looked happy over his fences. He didn't even look happy when he won over them at Exeter. He's now back over hurdles. I don't think he's the next Big Bucks. But he's likely to go off favourite, currently about 11-4.
Yeah, but nothing is the next Big Bucks. It's quite as simple as that. We probably will never see his kind again. He looks a really good horse, of course, when he was over hurdles last season. He was hugely progressive. And once this season, he looked very good over fences as well. So we know he's not as if not trained on. He has indeed. And to be honest with you, there are a bunch of very ordinary staying hurdles this year. There's no outstanding star.
Especially in this race.
And you wouldn't be surprised if he wins this. I mean, I wouldn't want to take too short a price. I wouldn't want to go less than 5-2 about him. The interesting one is going to be whether Willie Mullins declares Briar Hill, who's notably lazy at home.
Who's running today.
Is he running today? So he's not going to become... So Willie Mullins might well run Zaipur, and he's about £8 behind Sapphire de Reux in any case. So I wouldn't touch him with a barge. I think it could be quite straightforward for Sapphire de Reux.
Yeah,
I wouldn't want to take less than 2-1, would you?
No, definitely not. Especially given a horse who got turned over at Fontwell at 5-2 on last season in the games, not the Game Spirit, the National Spirit Hurdle.
Yeah.
In terms of alternatives, Paul, they look quite thin on the ground. I mean, Red De Silva has never looked comfortable at Cheltenham.
Doesn't like it here.
His record is 3-2, 6-2, 2-2, 1-4, 3-5, 1-4, 4-8.
Yeah, and because he's got that penalty, he's got to give weight away to the majority of the field as well.
Exactly, and he had a very tough race against Zarkanda. I wouldn't take him. I think 7-1 is actually too short, if that can be a thing.
I think Holywell would be the other interesting one if he reverts to hurdles, because his jumping's been awful over fences this season. Winner of the Pretemps, of course, 2 seasons ago. But the likelihood is he probably wants better ground than this in any case.
Definitely. At Fisher's Cross has underperformed, wasn't good at Leopardstown.
I just don't like the horse anymore. I think he's gone sour at the game, you know. I mean, I really can't anticipate having a bet in the Cleve Hurdle. I know we weren't going to look at it, but you know, I would rather have a bet in the big Gold Cup trial, the Bet Bright Chase at 150, if the ground is really, really deep on the Giant Bolster, because I think he's probably the best value bet on the card, to be honest with you. But I don't think I'm going to play in the Cleve Hurdle at all.
And just a quick word, I know you know the owner of Value at Risk, who runs as well in the Neptune trial. Any word on him?
He's working well. He's schooled an awful lot better in the past 3 or 4 weeks or so, and he's basically said this is the acid test. You know, I mean, they're almost like looking back from him being a chaser. It's that old cliche: whatever he achieves as a hurdler is going to be a bonus, which we hear so many times.
But I think it really will be with this horse. You look very impressive at Newbury. He never has to come off the bridle.
He is, but I don't think he's a Cheltenham horse. I mean, the owner, a guy called Mark Hugland, who actually bred the horse himself, so it's a fantastic story, is obviously desperate to have a Cheltenham Festival winner, but if it's going to be for him, it's going to be over fences rather than over hurdles. But I don't think that the configuration of the track suits him. I think he's a better horse going the other way around, and I think Punchestown will be his day, and that's what I've told him. But it's his horse, and I'm sure Dan Skelton knows an awful lot more than I do. But you know what? He's got a serious motor inside, as he showed at Newbury. A race that hasn't worked out brilliantly. It's worked out okay, but he won by such a long way. You don't know how good he is. But this is a good renewal of the Neptune. It really is. It's an absolute crackerjack. And there's some other seriously young horses that could go well here.
Now we move on to what I think is pretty much the race of the weekend. It's the Irish Arkle. Only 5 declared at the moment. We've got Apache Stronghold, Gilgamboa, Undersow, Valsalido and Clarkham. Valsalido is currently not being offered by bookmakers, making us think that he probably won't run. We've got to start with a favourite here, Paul. Undersow fell on his first start at 1-8. He did the job nicely next time, but odds on about him, I'm just not sure.
Well, I wouldn't bet him, but I think he puts in a clean round, he wins. I think it's as simple as that. I mean, he's just unbelievable. His sort of speed through a race. It's just fantastic. I think if he jumps, he wins. I think that the class horses up against him, Clarkham and Gilgamboa, the softer the better for Gilgamboa, of course. And Apache Stronghold, if he runs, which he probably won't actually, there's noises around that he won't. But if they're turning for home, right, and he's 15 lengths clear of Clarkham and Gilgamboa, I think he stays so well. I think he'll beat them if his fencing holds up.
The thing that worries me about Underso is that he hasn't really had a big test yet at all in his career.
But he might not have one. He might not need one.
Okay.
I mean, it's like this really weird situation, isn't it? You know, you think, well, we say like, you know, some of the best football teams under Barcelona in their pomp were never really tested because no one could get near them. I just think if he jumps off out in front, nothing will get near him. I really do. And you're right, it is a brilliant race and there are two classy rivals against him. But what are they going to do? What are they going to do? Are they going to be told, oh, try and stay as close as you can to the horse and therefore blow their own engine up? Or stay 15, 20 lengths off and go at a speed for which you feel comfortable and don't go out your comfort zone, and then turning for home find that Underso is not coming back to them because he stays so well. I think they're all hiding to nothing unless Underso makes some serious mistakes. And they are stiff fences at Leopardstown.
And he's shown he definitely can.
Yeah, he can.
It's personally, I wouldn't take odds on about Underso. I probably have a little saver on Joe Gamboa, who's very impressive at Limerick. Obviously left clear, but he's definitely value for more improvement. And we come to the final race, which is the Irish Champion Hurdle, or as it shall be from now on known, Hurricane Fly's Cup Final. He faces once again Arctic Fire and Jeski. Faugheen's entered, but he won't be there. Put simply, Paul, would you take 4 to 6 about him?
Well, no, I wouldn't. I wouldn't take odds on about him. And there's one day that matters to Jeski, the Champion Hurdle, and that's Champion Hurdle Day. But it doesn't mean he's not going to give Hurricane Fly a run for his money. And the fact of the matter is, Hurricane Fly on good ground at Cheltenham is nowhere near the horse that Hurricane Fly is on soft ground at Leopardstown.
Definitely.
And turn it on its head, Jeski is not the same horse on soft, heavy ground at Leopardstown as he is on good ground at Cheltenham. But Jeski's going to be tight fit, you know that. So, you know, I'd rather back Jeski, or more than maybe back Jeski as a back to lay in the run. Because at some stage he's going to look as though he's going to beat Hurricane Fly.
Yeah.
But Hurricane Fly normally pulls a little bit more out of the locker, doesn't he?
Yeah, as has been evident in the last few duels between the two. Out of all of those, Paul, Generous Ransom as your tip for the weekend?
Well, I like Generous Ransom each way, but I must admit, I'm going to be walking the course at Cheltenham on Saturday, and I will tweet what I find. I'm going to walk it around about 10, half 10. If the ground is absolutely bottomless, yeah, it is really seriously testing ground. I think the Giant Bolster is the horse of the day, and because he's not that sexy horse from a big stable, but he has a tremendous record in the race, I think he could outstay Dinast.
Is he 10 a bit old for the around?
No, I don't think so, no.
Okay.
Quite happy with that.
Well, that was another PJ and Dunkley. I cannot wait to watch the racing this weekend. It's going to be fantastic. It really makes working actually seem like less of a chore because I get paid to watch this great racing. So there you go. Thank you very much, Paul. We'll see you next week. And yeah, good betting.